You and I are about to watch real stories captured live by cheater surveillance cameras. The cameras document the sheer heartbreak a partner suffers due to infidelity. This show is dedicated to the loyal partners and confronts the deceitful ones, hoping to spark a return to honesty and basic decency. Coming up on this outrageous cheaters episode, the suspect wasn't driving limousines at all. He was sitting inside a nail salon. Hey, disgusting. You're getting a manicure. Get off me. You're supposed to be my sister. This is reality television brought to you by cheaters. Private investigators on the cheaters team. Welcome back to another scandalous cheaters episode. Tonight's first investigation centers around Lexi McLoud, a young nanny seeking the truth about her boyfriend of 2 years. She noticed a shift in his behavior. Lexi begged the cheaters detectives to finally uncover the ugly truth. Lexi explained that the couple initially met at a mutual friend's party. She recalled winning a game of beer pong, which immediately prompted his competitive side to step up and challenge her to a rematch. During the game, the two of them hit it off and fell into deep conversation. They spent the entire rest of the night just talking. Following that initial encounter at the party, the pair felt an instant connection and quickly became practically inseparable. They texted and talked constantly. She admired his humor, noting that her family completely adored his jokes. He even attended their family dinners every single Sunday. Her relatives formed a genuine bond with the man, and quite honestly, Lexi truly believed they were heading toward a shared future. Suspect identity withheld. Age 28. A limo driver who might be steering his romance into the gutter. Armed with his daily schedule, cheaters investigators staked out the suspect's home. A short while later, the unnamed suspect finally made a move. He emerged from the house. The 20-something drove away, completely oblivious that the surveillance team was tailing him. The man walked through the front door. Lexi worked as a daytime nanny while he drove shifts through the night. Finding any time together became extremely difficult. He usually came over to her place to sleep after his late shifts. But recently, he had been coming up with these strange excuses about needing extra space and wanting to go out with all his buddies. He demanded guy time and grew incredibly defensive whenever she voiced her concerns. Whenever Lexi tried to gently ask him if something was wrong or bothering him deep down, the simple question only made his furious temper flare up. He constantly accused her of snooping and invading his privacy. He ordered her to stop asking questions, even though she was just genuinely worried about him. Let's watch. The suspect soon surfaced with an unknown female. He gives her a very familiar hug. They say their goodbyes. With a quick glance back, the suspect walks to his vehicle. The man drives away from the unknown woman's home. Stick with us as agents trail the suspect heading home for the evening. Lexi's family doesn't even ask about him anymore. Not even her sister. She used to check in since they noticed the stark change in his behavior. They used to wonder what was wrong, but now everyone has just stopped asking. It is all because of the cold person he is becoming, and Lexi is just completely terrified. This was her first real romantic relationship, and she had high hopes. She desperately wanted to build a real future with him. But now she just doesn't know if that is even possible anymore. She constantly worries that he might actually be cheating. She just does not know. Cheaters investigators continue to stake out the suspect's apartment. After some time, the suspect finally makes an appearance. The man drives through town, closely followed by a cheater squad. He reaches a coffee shop sometime later. The mysterious woman from previous surveillance, whose true identity remains withheld, arrives. The alleged adulterous couple enters the cafe. Moments later, they emerge with drinks in hand. The suspect and his new paramour find a table right on the patio. The duo drinks, converses, and makes merry. Sometime later, the illicit twosome leaves the coffee shop. Holding hands, they stroll across the parking lot toward the young lady's vehicle. The suspect leans in to kiss his companion goodbye. He climbs into his SUV and drives far away from the scene of the crime. The suspect returns home, officially ending this day of surveillance. Recognizing a clear pattern, cheaters detectives stay glued to the suspect's home. Sometime later, camera operators spot the suspect walking right out of his house. The man climbs into his vehicle. He travels across town, heading to the home seen previously on surveillance. The suspect walks straight up to the front door and knocks. His knocking pays off when his secret companion opens the door. He eagerly greets the young lady with hugs and kisses. She quickly allows the suspect entry. Peering through the window, we spy the suspect and his hidden mistress. The suspect's courtesan climbs right onto his lap. She heavily rains kisses upon him. Sometime later, the suspect and his lady friend finally materialize. Holding hands, the suspect and his playmate walk slowly to the man's vehicle. At the SUV, they hug and kiss once again. The suspect pats his companion on the behind. The young lady heads inside. As the suspect leaves, the cheaters team compiles all the damning evidence to present to a devastated Lexi. Coming up, we watch the confrontation. Lexi's most disastrous fears finally bear fruit. Cheaters headquarters puts out a tough call to the aching woman. Though terrified of what the harsh truth might reveal, she desperately needed the hard facts about her boyfriend's actions. Let's watch Lexi finally hear the painful details. The host softly began the meeting, wanting to let Lexi know that he truly appreciated her coming out tonight. He reminded Lexi that their private investigation was now complete. He then noticed the peculiar items she had brought along. Before showing the surveillance video, he asked her to explain what those things were. Lexi gestured to the clothes. Yeah, so she explained her boyfriend claimed to be driving a limo for work tonight. But Lexi knew he was lying after driving over to check his place. Using her spare key, she went inside and was shocked to find his limo driver uniform sitting right there. He's obviously not at work, she admitted, completely unsure of where her boyfriend actually was. In pure frustration, she simply took the uniform. The host calmly assured her they knew exactly where he was. He promised answers. Now let's review this cheating surveillance footage together. Lexi nodded nervously. The investigation footage began outside the suspect's apartment. The camera caught him walking out and sliding right into the driver's seat. The target drove away as the undercover detectives followed. He pulled up to a house. Lexi gasped, realizing he went into her home. They watched as an hour or so passed. He emerged with a woman. Lexi was horrified it was her sister. She was absolutely stunned, completely unaware her boyfriend and sister were spending time alone. Moving forward with the investigation, the crew watched the apartment again on a different day. Sometime later, the suspect emerged. Wearing a hat and gripping his cell phone, he got into the car and left. The detectives trailed him closely as he drove for quite some distance. He finally parked at a local coffee shop, and sometime later, a female arrived. It was Lexi's sister. They grabbed coffee together and sat at an outside table. They held hands, both clearly smiling, sharing their drinks. The host then prepared to play the audio from a secretly recorded phone call between them. He asked Lexi to listen closely and see if she remembered this specific day or conversation. In the recording, she warmly asked if he was on his way over. He smoothly lied, claiming he couldn't come because something sudden had just come up at work. Lexi sounded suspicious, pushing him for details. He quickly blamed a massive quinceañera party, claiming they were short on drivers for 80 kids. He said his boss needed help, but Lexi complained he'd been staying late for days. She begged him to just come over after he finally finished his long shift. Dodging the question, he refused to promise anything and offered to call her later instead. Lexi gave up, frustrated. Fine, whatever, bye. The truth hit hard. He wasn't driving limos. He was just lying. So what do you and I make of this? The host asked if things were clicking, guessing her sister knew exactly who called. Lexi realized her sister absolutely had to know, especially given that sneaky smirk she was wearing. Let's watch what happened right after that heartbreaking phone call. The hidden cameras caught the two cheaters leaving the coffee shop. The guy actually walked over and opened her car door. He escorted her right inside. He gave a sweet farewell, then took his black SUV. The investigative team tailed him all the way back home. The big question remained, was she ready to confront her own sister? Oh yeah. She was absolutely ready to raise some serious hell there. They headed right that way. The tracking team quickly locked down a solid location nearby. The two suspects were actually at a salon getting pedicures. Wow. She mocked the cute scene. Busted. She laughed at their cute little manicure setup right then. She sarcastically called the whole date adorable. Her sister yelled to stop. She loudly demanded what happened. The cheating sister panicked fast. You and I know they're sisters. He had played one of them and lied about everything. The betrayed victim desperately demanded to know the harsh truth immediately. How exactly did all this happen? He just told her to get over the whole thing. She shoved the hard evidence forward. He denied it. He feigned pure ignorance. Unbelievable. He blamed his so-called brother, Ryan. The cheater actually tried claiming he had an identical twin brother named Ryan. She wasn't buying that fake twin brother excuse for one single second. The insults kept flying as the salon scene turned completely chaotic. She loudly accused him of being drunk. Next up, the wild conclusion. The reality show cameras replayed the wildest moments of the brawl. The furious victim demanded to know exactly what he had to say for himself. She forced him to watch the damning video footage once again. She brought up the phone call. Oh, and by the way, he stubbornly stuck to that ridiculous story about his brother Ryan. She tossed a dog collar right at him for acting like a cheating mutt. His imaginary brother, Ryan. The cheating sister shouted cruel insults right back across the salon. He tried explaining himself. What do you and I make of him claiming she just let herself go? She tried claiming she was just hanging with her sister. And then the guilty suspect bolted. Stick with me here. Was he seriously trying to pass the other guy off as a twin brother? The other guy looked exactly like him. The betraying sister didn't hold back, coldly justifying why the boyfriend had been sleeping around. She callously blamed the victim, claiming she simply didn't satisfy him in the bedroom like she did. She bragged that her own sister simply couldn't please a man the same way. The insults kept flying. The tension escalated into pure chaos as someone started ripping off a jacket to start a physical fight. The jacket was violently thrown completely aside. The angry boyfriend escalated things, openly daring the others to step up and fight. Items were violently thrown his way. The enraged victim kept hurling things, losing her temper. She thought he was finally trapped. Our camera crew captured every detail. The heartbroken victim pleaded for answers. Did this guy honestly think he could casually date two sisters? He cowardly tried to brush her off, promising they would just talk about it later at home. But nobody was willing to accept his pathetic attempts at dodging the issue. One major question remained for everyone. We have to ask ourselves, how will their family react to seeing this horrible betrayal? What would their parents say about this disgusting mess? She claimed their parents would just brush off the betrayal. The accusations continued. Vicious names were thrown around. The older sibling mocked the 22-year-old victim viciously, stating she knew absolutely nothing about experiencing real love or intimacy. The confrontation reached a boiling point as he was finally forced to choose between the two siblings. The coward absolutely refused to answer. He desperately tried to pacify her. He insisted the onlookers didn't understand the deep, twisted romance he supposedly shared with the mistress. The argument aggressively shifted toward a stolen wallet and an unfamiliar car parked nearby. She screamed for him to stay completely out of her purse. He demanded his wallet. Accusations of stolen cash started violently flying. They screamed about lost keys and crossed personal boundaries. The cheater lashed out aggressively, telling everyone involved to mind their own business. He demanded privacy, callously bringing up the victim's personal struggles with her child's father in front of everyone. The crowd was fiercely told to back off, questioning why people were even watching at 10 o'clock at night. The wallet was surrendered. She tossed his belongings back, totally disgusted by his incredibly rude behavior. She called him completely delusional, mocking his incredibly pathetic behavior. It was over. The victim finally hit her limit. Let's watch this final stand together. She aggressively demanded to know who he actually wanted to fall asleep next to. She screamed the question again, demanding to know who he truly wanted to be with. It was complete Nonsense. He yelled that she was making him look bad over a simple mani-pedi. He complained loudly about being hit 6 times. A bystander mocked the grown man for getting beaten up by angry women. He insisted the women hit hard. The betrayed victim fired back, claiming his infidelity hurt a whole lot worse. The cheater desperately blamed his look-alike brother Ryan, denying he even owned those clothes. Frantic voices screamed at him to get inside the getaway vehicle right away. The crowd screamed for the car to stop. Someone yelled, "Stop!" Voices ordered him and his sister home. The suspect whined about being incredibly stressed. His furious partner threatened to leave him. Pleading by the vehicle, the cornered cheater desperately tried claiming the entire setup was completely fake. He cursed again about looking so terribly bad. The street confrontation ended in absolute pandemonium. Lexi realized she needed to make serious life changes. Later, the crew reports on her decision. But first, you and I are going to hear from former client Simon Reed. He explains the night he caught his wife and best friend red-handed on tape. Simon recalled that the evening of the brutal confrontation remained a total blur to him. He remembered the relentless pouring heavy rain. Speechless, frantic thoughts raced endlessly through his overwhelmed mind. The absolute last thing he expected was catching his lifelong best friend sleeping with his partner, sleeping with his own beloved wife. Seeing them sitting there eating food bought with his hard-earned money, Simon simply saw red. He knew he had to get the twisted situation resolved right then and there. On camera, he aggressively demanded to know what they were doing. He repeatedly screamed at his so-called friend, demanding immediate answers. Simon pointed at his wife while the friend casually claimed they were just eating pie. Simon furiously mocked their little date, sarcastically asking if the pie and beers were nice. He continued bitterly interrogating the guilty pair. He asked how they could ruthlessly betray both a best friend and a devoted husband. He desperately demanded to know what they were doing. Looking back, Simon confessed that he desperately wanted to smash a beer glass into his friend's face. He admitted wanting to slam the man's head directly through the table. Imagine seeing that. Decades of deep friendship completely destroyed by him sitting there with Simon's wife. He confronted them casually eating food, only to see his friend show absolutely zero remorse. His complete apathy provided the absolute biggest shock to Simon. Simon sadly reflected that he never expected his closest buddy to turn. He believed their deep friendship was permanent, never once suspecting his buddy would become the exact person stealing her, taking away his wife. On tape, the friend simply claimed the drink as his own beer. The betrayer argued he was just crashing there, but Simon knew they were doing far more than that. Simon yelled that having a casual beer together was one thing entirely, but stealing a wife is unforgivable. You and I both know he was caught entirely red-handed. The suspect mercilessly taunted the victim, bragging about how hot his new catch was. Since losing both his best friend and his wife, he admits there has been a bit of an empty void in his daily life. He and Chris used to hit rock shows, get totally wasted together, and spend their weekends stumbling through pub crawls. He lost a really important part of his life. Still, he managed to pour a lot more effort into his career, eventually landing himself a pretty fantastic promotion. That part is great. Yet he finds himself incredibly lonely, even with plenty of fresh opportunities with other women while he is traveling. He has met a few, but honestly, he just isn't ready. He is still out there, still really hurting over Sarah and the pain of losing his best friend. So yes, he's completely single right now, but time heals all wounds, and he hopes to eventually find the perfect woman and finally settle down again soon. Let's look at this together. After discovering her boyfriend's secret lover was her sister, Lexi McLoud, completely cut off all contact with the suspect. She later spoke to Cheater's producers, clearly stating that she remains furious with her sister. She knew better, but Lexi admits she will probably end up forgiving her eventually. The suspect kept seeing his companion, despite the massive uproar it caused. However, our investigators learned the romance only lasted a few months before he was caught cheating again. Only this time, he betrayed Lexi's sister. The betrayed sister later confessed to our producers that he did the exact same thing to her, and she feels absolutely terrible about it. Still, it won't stop her from dating whoever she wants. What do you and I make of this Remember Choose Goldsteins, or we both lose?